After centuries of political struggle, the Indian subcontinent was divided into 16 powerful states known as the Mahajanapadas. Each had its own rulers, armies, and ambitions. But constant wars weakened them, and none could establish lasting supremacy. Out of this political turmoil, one state began to rise slowly yet steadily. That state was Magadha. Situated in the eastern Gangetic Plain, Magadha would soon overshadow all its rivals and change the course of ancient Indian history. Magadha's geography gave it natural advantages. It was located between the Ganga and Sun rivers, in one of the most fertile regions of India. These rivers provided water for irrigation, trade routes for merchants, and natural defenses against invasion. While other states fought for survival, Magadha's environment nurtured stability and growth. This fertile soil would produce abundant harvests, support growing populations, and give Magadha the resources it needed to build a strong and lasting empire. Agriculture was the backbone of Magadha's power. Farmers worked the fertile fields with simple iron tools, producing rice, wheat, and barley. The surplus harvest not only fed the local population, but also allowed trade with distant lands. Livestock such as cattle and elephants were equally important, providing labor for farming and strength for war. While other regions struggled with scarcity, Magadha thrived with abundance. This prosperity attracted people, merchants, and even philosophers, making Magadha a land of opportunity. Magadha's rise was not only due to agriculture, but also its growing cities. Urban centers developed around trade and administration. Wooden fortifications protected towns, while bustling markets brought together farmers, artisans, and merchants. Iron tools, ornaments, and luxury goods were exchanged, reflecting wealth and prosperity. These cities became meeting points of ideas, politics, and culture. While other states often remained rural, Magadha's urban centers gave it the strength of both a farming base and a sophisticated city life. Rajagriha, the first capital of Magadha, was surrounded by 5 hills that provided natural defense. Its location made it difficult for enemies to attack and easy for rulers to control nearby trade routes. The city reflected the early organization of Magadhan power. Temples, palaces, and gathering places showcased both political authority and cultural richness. Rajagriha symbolized the beginnings of a state that was destined to dominate northern India. One of the most important figures in Magadha's rise was King Bimbisara. He came to power in the 5th century BCE and ruled with vision and strategy. Bimbisara expanded Magadha's territory through wars and clever diplomacy. He strengthened administration by appointing officials and building alliances. His leadership marked the transition of Magadha from a regional kingdom to an empire in the making. Historians remember him as a ruler who laid the foundation of Magadha's greatness. Bimbisara was not only a warrior, but also a skilled diplomat. He secured alliances with powerful neighbors, including Kosala, through marriage. These marriages brought peace, strengthened Magadha's political position, and provided access to new resources. This strategy ensured that Magadha grew not only by force, but also by diplomacy. Bimbisara's policies showed that power could be expanded as much through alliances as through war. Magadha's military strength was unmatched in the region. Its army included thousands of foot soldiers, horsemen, and most importantly, war elephants. These elephants, heavily armored, could break enemy lines and create fear on the battlefield. Magadha's rulers invested heavily in their military, ensuring discipline and organization. This strong army allowed Magadha to defeat rivals and expand its borders rapidly, making it the most feared power of its time. Trade and economy gave Magadha another advantage. The land was rich in iron deposits, which fueled both agriculture and warfare. Blacksmiths created stronger tools and weapons, increasing productivity. Markets were full of goods, from grains to ornaments and textiles. Merchants carried Magadha's wealth to distant regions, connecting it with trade networks across India. This prosperity turned Magadha into an economic powerhouse that supported its growing military and political ambitions. The Ganga River was Magadha's lifeline. It connected villages, towns, and cities, carrying people and goods across long distances. Boats loaded with grain, timber, and crafts sailed towards distant regions, making Magadha a hub of commerce. The river also linked Magadha to spiritual and cultural centers, spreading its influence far and wide. In every sense, the Ganga provided Magadha with the arteries of communication and prosperity that few other kingdoms could match. After Bimbisara, his son Ajatashatru took the throne. Though his rule began with conflict against his own father, Ajatashatru soon proved to be a determined and ambitious leader. He strengthened Magadha's military with new weapons, including powerful catapults and fortified chariots. Ajatashatru extended Magadha's territory by defeating neighboring kingdoms, making the state even stronger than before. Under his rule, Magadha grew into the dominant power of northern India. Ajatashatru introduced military innovations that changed warfare in ancient India. He used large catapults to hurl stones at enemy fortifications and chariots protected with heavy armor. These innovations gave Magadha a clear advantage in battle. With these powerful weapons, Ajatashatru crushed rivals like the Lichavis of Vaishali, expanding Magadha's control deeper into the Gangetic plains. Ajatashatru's reign also coincided with the life of Gautama Buddha. Magadha became one of the most important centers of Buddhism. The Buddha gave sermons near Rajagriha, and many of his disciples lived in the region. The king himself is said to have supported the Sangha, donating land and monasteries. This close link between Magadha and Buddhism gave the state cultural and spiritual prestige that no rival kingdom could match. Magadha was not only central to Buddhism, but also to Jainism. Mahavira, the 24th Tirthankara of Jainism, spent much of his life in Magadha. His teachings of nonviolence and ascetic discipline influenced countless people, including members of Magadha's elite. Thus, Magadha became a meeting point of two of India's greatest religious traditions, Buddhism and Jainism. The spiritual climate of Magadha attracted monks, ascetics, and philosophers from across India. Forests and hills became centers of meditation, while towns hosted debates and discussions. Villagers welcomed teachers who preached peace and morality. This gave Magadha not only political power, but also an identity as the spiritual heart of northern India. It was here that philosophy, religion, and statecraft came together in a unique way. Ajatashatru, despite his violent rise to power, later became a supporter of Buddhism. He is remembered for donating land to build monasteries, such as the famous Vinyavana Monastery in Rajagriha. His patronage helped Buddhism spread beyond Magadha, reaching distant kingdoms. This also strengthened Magadha's reputation as a land of wisdom and faith. Rajagriha became famous not only as a capital, but also as a center of learning. Kings, monks, and philosophers gathered for debates on ethics, governance, and the nature of life. Such assemblies allowed Magadha to shape the intellectual traditions of ancient India. It was here that religious thought and political authority often met face to face, shaping the values of an entire civilization. The Ganga River carried not only goods, but also ideas. Monks and traders traveled along its waters, spreading Magadha's influence far and wide. Trade routes became highways of culture, linking distant lands with the philosophies born in Magadha. Through these channels, Magadha's spiritual and political power reached beyond its borders. Towards the end of Ajatashatru's reign, Magadha's power was symbolized by the founding of Pataliputra, the city that would later become one of the greatest capitals in Indian history. Located at the confluence of rivers, it was both defensible and connected to trade. Strong walls and moats protected the city, showing the growing ambition of Magadha to control all of northern India. Pataliputra quickly grew into a thriving metropolis. Soldiers guarded its gates, traders filled its markets, and boats lined its riverside docks. The city became a symbol of Magadha's strength and vision. In time, Pataliputra would become the heart of some of India's greatest empires. For now, it stood as a testament to Magadha's rise from a regional kingdom to the center of power in the subcontinent. As Ajatashatru consolidated Magadha's rule, its boundaries expanded beyond the old core. From the fertile plains of Bihar to the eastern lands of Bengal, Magadha stretched its influence. The Ganga River served as a highway of power, allowing armies, merchants, and pilgrims to move freely. With each passing decade, Magadha's reach was not just territorial but also cultural, setting the stage for a true empire. During this time, the teachings of Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, began spreading across Magadha. Monks traveled from village to village, carrying nothing but their begging bowls and simple robes. They preached a path away from war and material desire, emphasizing compassion, peace, and self-realization. Magadha became the heartland where the early Buddhist Sangha took root, shaping the moral and spiritual outlook of the region. Parallel to Buddhism, Jainism was also taking root in Magadha. Lord Mahavira, the last Tirthankara, spread the message of nonviolence and strict discipline. His followers, dressed in white, lived lives of simplicity and self-control. Jainism, like Buddhism, challenged the dominance of traditional Vedic rituals, offering people new spiritual choices. Magadha thus became the crucible of two world religions. Magadha's urban life was thriving. Its cities became centers of trade and crafts. Potters, weavers, and metal workers filled the markets with goods, while merchants traveled long distances with carts full of spices and textiles. These vibrant towns were not just centers of economy, but also meeting grounds for different cultures, where ideas flowed as freely as goods. In Magadha, learning flourished alongside trade. Early centers of study began emerging, where teachers taught students beneath the shade of trees. Texts were carefully copied on palm leaves, and oral traditions continued to pass wisdom across generations. This intellectual culture would eventually give birth to world-renowned universities like Nalanda. Ajatashatru also invested heavily in fortifications. Strong walls, gates, and moats protected the cities of Magadha, making them nearly impenetrable. These defenses gave its citizens security and gave rulers confidence to expand further. Magadha was transforming into a state that balanced military strength with civic growth. Governance in Magadha grew more organized. Councils of advisors assisted the king in making key decisions. Scribes recorded policies and taxes, while officials announced orders to the people. This early bureaucracy ensured stability and continuity, giving Magadha an edge over rival states. Magadha's strength also came from its mastery of rivers. The Ganga was not just a source of life, but also a military and commercial artery. Boats carried soldiers, merchants, and pilgrims alike, binding the kingdom together. Whoever controlled the river controlled the wealth and destiny of northern India. Despite political rivalries, Magadha was a land of festivals and joy. Music, dance, and rituals filled the calendar. Temples and village gatherings became places of devotion and community life. This cultural richness gave Magadha its unique identity and ensured that its legacy went beyond politics and war. As the 5th century BCE drew to a close, Magadha was no longer just one among many states. Its military power, cultural influence, and spiritual role made it the rising force of the subcontinent. What began as a kingdom was now on the path to becoming the first great empire of India.